Hi, everyone. But hi, specifically the two dogs. Mainly hello to this little angel down here. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. There's like a few of you that I met at FlowFest and Webflow Conf London. Just to get a little read on the room, who here has tried GSAP in code? Okay, quite a lot of people. Interesting. Who here has tried the new GSAP Webflow interactions? A little bit, okay, awesome. Who here has been around since like the Flash days? How is your back feeling? You're doing good if you've got a comfortable chair. All right, so for the people that haven't heard of GSAP, GSAP is a JavaScript animation library that you can use to basically animate anything. Someone cornered me just before the talk and was asking whether GSAP is a vector animation library. And you can use GSAP to animate SVG, so vector graphics. But GSAP itself doesn't do any rendering. So if you've used Rive or Lottie, those are kind of whole animation systems that render the stuff to the page for you. What GSAP does is animates properties of things, of anything. So that could be HTML elements, CSS properties, SVG attributes, like JavaScript objects in Canvas or WebGL, 3JS. So the strength of GSAP is basically that you can build out your web page however you want with HTML elements, semantic markup. You can use CSS, you can use all the things that you're used to, and then you can kind of pop GSAP on top and then construct kind of complex animation timelines. So yeah, GSAP is great. I made a lot of websites with GSAP back in the day and started teaching GSAP at workshops, and then eventually got a job at GSAP, just me and Jack, the code author. And we kind of bumbled along for a while. And then the Webflow community came along and you folks started building amazing things with Webflow and GSAP. And then got us on the radar of Webflow. And now we belong to Webflow, who we got acquired. So it's really exciting for us. Mostly because we always had a little paid subscription mechanism in order to keep us in jobs. And Webflow are now kind of covering that for everyone. So now all of GSAP is free for everyone, thanks to Webflow, which is pretty cool. I'm just doing confetti just for the sake of it, just because it's fun. Whee! So yeah, since the acquisition, the first thing that they did was make GSAP free for everyone. So if you use GSAP in code, you can now use any of the plugins, any of the tools to build anything that you can dream up, pretty much. But what we've been working on since the acquisition is the new Webflow interactions. So this is going to take over from the old Webflow interactions, which is about time because that's using jQuery under the hood. So it will be powered by GSAP, which will mean that your animations are going to be a lot more performant. And we're really looking into how to integrate accessibility and a whole lot of other things into it. It is quite an early stage release, this. So if you've played around, you've probably seen that there's like a few things there, but there's a few things that aren't quite at parity, feature parity with IX2. We're gradually adding those features, and we're kind of aiming to be at full feature parity by Webflow Conf. So that's full feature parity with IX2, not full feature parity with GSAP. That's a higher bar. We're going to eventually be at full feature parity with GSAP, but in a little bit of time. So yeah, I think my goal today, it's kind of selfish, really. I got asked to do a presentation. I'm actually far more interested in talking to you lot and finding out what you're excited about, what you've been struggling with, and what we can build into the future of IX3. But I'll I will do a little presentation just because I got asked to. So wondering whether anyone watched the live stream that I did with Aaron Korenblit back in the day? Yeah, okay. So this was before the acquisition. Aaron noticed that a lot of people were using GSAP in Webflow, and he got me on a little live stream, and we built this little clonable. Let's see. So it was just like a little loading animation and then some images, staggering. And we specifically lent on staggering because that's quite, like, it's a GSAP feature that a lot of people were leaning on GSAP for because it was really hard to do in IX2, seeing lots of like nodding and pained expressions. So I thought what would be fun for today is just to rebuild this with IX3. I've realized I keep calling it IX3 and that's like the internal name for it. Apparently I'm meant to be calling it the new Webflow interactions with GSAP. If anyone from Webflow is watching, I'm sorry. the new interactions with GSAP. Okay, so over here, this is the code that we wrote out for that live stream. And one of the first things that we did was we staggered in this, the letters. And then we had a little pause, and then we staggered the letters out again. So let's give that a go. We've got our page here. And if we take a look at where are our elements, awesome. So we've got this little paragraph tag here. And in the original template, we actually broke that out into spans and then animated each letter individually. But let's create an interaction with split text. So we're going to create page load animation. And this is really fun. We put together a bunch of little presets as well. So I'd love feedback on the presets, like as you're building out things, because we thought it would be nice to give people a little kind of point to jump off from. We've tried to make them the sort of presets that are actually usable, because there's so many animation presets out there that like you don't use them. Like nobody's using like the jiggle one. But yeah, so let's create a little stagger drop-in. We've got the little timeline at the bottom here, and you can choose fit to timeline. That stretches things out a little bit. So we've got a little stagger drop-in. We've got our text, and we're going to add our class of loading. Amazing. And then, oh wait, it disappeared. Loading. Cool, so we've got that selected. And you can see it's just bumping in like that. And that's because we haven't split the text up into characters. So split text is one of GSAP's most popular plugins. And you can choose to split by line, word, or letter. So we're going to split by letter. And you'll see now, if we play it, it's animating all the letters in individually. Another cool thing is that you can mask this. So right now you can see that it's animating in from, oh no, we've got some CSS that's masking it already. So ignore that. But yeah, so we're animating in the letters. Let's have a little look at our demo so we can see what should happen. I think we're loading it in from the bottom. Cool, so if we go to our action here, you can see that we've got like from to. If you're familiar with GSAP, you'll probably be familiar with the from to thing. So in GSAP world, you can either choose to animate to some values from wherever your element is on the canvas, or you can animate from some values to wherever your element is on the canvas, or you can have a bit more control and you can define both of those values. Most of the time, you're going to be using two animations, because two animations will take whatever the state is at that time. So that's nice for sequencing, because you can kind of animate to somewhere and animate to somewhere else, animate to somewhere else, and you kind of let GSAP do the thinking for you. You don't have to define all the values. But what we're going to do is we're going to animate from the bottom. So we're going from 100% of the height to 0. Ta-da! And then you can change the duration like in the settings there, or you can just do little draggies on the timeline, which is quite nice for visual builders. Let's change the ease as well. So we'll do like a little expo in out. We've got a like a custom easing thing coming, and also like a ease visualizer. So right now we've just kind of got this drop down, which is a little bit much, but we'll eventually have like an actual easing curve in there for you folks. So yeah, that looks pretty great. What we want to do is we want to animate it in and then up again. So you can just copy paste like that, and that has made another action which we can stretch out on the timeline. And then this one, we want to animate 2. So we'll select 2, and then we'll go -100. All of the other settings are the same. And then let's have a little look. Got nothing! Hooray! That's super fun. Why has this happened? Let's play this again. Demos are always fun, aren't they? Oh, it is working. Let's go back again.
Cassie, quick question.
Yes.
The version of Webflow you're using, this is what everyone has, or do you have something special?
This is what everyone has.
Nice.
Yeah.
As of a week ago?
As of, yeah, I think a week ago. It got rolled out like over a month. So now everybody has this. You can get there. There's a little toggle on the bottom right. I think I can, if I go out, you can see it. There we go. So if you go to interactions, there's a little drop down. Can you see that?
Just.
And you can choose either classic interactions or interactions with GSAP. And then there's a little menu on the left-hand side where you can see all of your interactions as well. So if we go back into this, we'll make another action. So we'll do, let's just do a custom one. What was our target? Target was loading. Okay, so let's do this again. Add target. Choose loading. Be on the right one. Loading, excellent. So we're going to do the Y value. Again. There's 2 Y values actually. There's like Y% and there's move Y. I think we're using Y% on this one. Yeah, okay. So let's use Y% on this one. Then we're going to animate 2 -100. And then hopefully, hey! Yeah! Okay, that's working. It's working this time. So we want to do split text again, and we're going to split by letter. I think we found a bug, you know?
I've actually had that exact scenario.
Two split texts in a row.
And then it didn't work on a fresh page, and it worked.
Interesting, yeah.
Pressing refresh.
Raising a ticket. Huh.
Love everything else, by the way.
Thanks. It's not stressful at all running into like bugs doing things live. But at least it's not me building it, so I just get to go to the other people and say, this thing is not working. So, okay, well, all of it's going up. Let's try and make some of it go up. Stagger, offset time, 0.1, and then let's do expo in out. Let's give this another go. Interesting. Okay, so it's showing in preview. If we publish this to staging, thanks for bug hunting with me. this publish now? Yeah. Okay, animating in and animating out. Okay, so it just doesn't like it in the actual page itself. That makes sense. There's quite a lot of complex things going on. We'll give them a little bit of grace. It's working now. Yeah, okay, it's working everywhere now. We just needed to refresh a little bit. It's an early iteration. It is early days. So yeah, we've got the text animation happening there. And you can see that that's animating from the letter L both times. If we wanted to animate these images the same way that the link does, it's animating them from the L and then animating out. But then the images are staggering in from the center. So we'll make another action here. We'll do a custom one. We'll drag that out. And then we're going to target the gallery image. I mean, there's only a few images on the site, so I think I'm going to be a bit cheeky here. And I'm actually just going to... Oh, you can see the images. That's new. So a few days ago, you had to actually type out the classes. Now we've got a lovely drop-down, so that's really nice. So we're going to target the gallery images, if it lets me select it. Gallery image, excellent. And then we want to animate those from the bottom. So here, you might have noticed there's some defaults when you make a new custom interaction. The things that it shows are the things that are the most performant. So when you're animating on the web, for HTML elements at least, the things that you should be looking to target are opacity and transforms. And those happen on a composite layer in the browser. So those are like very nice and quick for the browser to animate. Things like height and width and top and left are layout properties, and that takes a little bit more calculation for the browser to do. So when you hear people talking about janky animations, it's usually because they're animating layout properties. So these are the ones that we've surfaced for people to have by default. You actually can't see because it's a little bit off the screen, but there's a plus button, and the plus button brings up a whole menu that you can choose different properties that you might want to animate. So like skews and rotates and background color and borders and stuff. Eventually, because GSAP can animate anything, we're going to add in the ability for you to just type in properties. So if you want to animate something like clip path or something that's like a little bit more obscure, you'll be able to do that. And you'll also be able to animate the values of CSS variables as well, which is good fun. So yeah, right now to animate the images, what we want is to do the Y% value. And we're going to animate from, I think, -100. Let's give this a go. It hasn't worked again. Let's check this out. So sad. Okay, we've got a class selected. We've got gallery image. We are animating from gallery image wrapper. That's what we need to animate. Okay, let's go gallery image wrapper. It's really not loving it today, is it? In and we're out from the top. It's a shame. Gallery image.
Is the 2 selected?
Is the what?
The 2 selected?
Yeah. Well, it should just be animating from to its current value.
Because there's no value in the 2.
Yeah. Should the 2 be not selected, so it defaults to 2?
Hey.
Well, that worked. Excellent. It's hard to see whether the from and tos are selected or not, isn't it? I think that's a valid bit of UX feedback that I'm going to pass along. It's hard to tell whether you've got a from or a to or a from to selected. Okay, so now we've got in preview, we've got the text coming in, the text going out, and then the images coming in, which is good. But we want to stagger the images. Okay. Light mode. Yeah. Right, so we're going to do a stagger, and we're going to do, there's total time and offset time. Offset time is how much time you want in between the individual animations, and then there's total time, which is how much time you want all of the stagger animations to complete in. So we could say offset time 1 second, and then you'd get 1 whole second between each animation. Or we could do total time 1 second, and that would be all of them complete within 1 second. So it's a little bit different.
Automatically offsets them.
Figures out the offset time for you. So let's do 1 second and a duration of 1 second, and we'll do expo out. Expo is my favorite ease. It's like a swishy kind of cool ease, whereas like bounce easing is like more playful, and then like power 1, power 2, power 3 are kind of like the normal standard kind of gentle easings.
Where do you find your favorites? You just kind of play around with it and see what you think best?
Yeah, I think so. Just have a little play around. If you go to the GSAP docs and you go to the easing page, we've got an ease visualizer, so you can see how they feel. So like bounce easing, playful, elastic easing, even sillier. Sign easing is like very smooth. Expo is a lot more kind of swishy.
Are you in the Osmo community? Sorry, it was just a question to Jimmy, because Dennis found that if you go on inspect, you can see the easing for different things if you inspect the elements, like in developer tools. So if you want to learn how to get that easing that's on like a certain thing, you can actually inspect it, which is pretty cool.
If they're using CSS, you're
If
talking about
they're using-
in dev tools.
yeah.
Well, I mean, the difference there is that with CSS, I mean, you can actually do more complex easing now, but yeah, GSAP easing, it's all based on SVG paths. So you can basically create any easing you want just by dragging things around, whereas CSS is usually like cubic Bezier. People use that. You've got 2 handles.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's quite fun kind of playing around with easing.
I don't know if this is like a...
I didn't really say anything there until the mic. Hello, YouTube audience. When you do one type of easing, for example, on images coming in, is it generally like good practice to have the same kind of easing throughout a site? If you have any advice about that, I'd be really interested to know.
Yeah, so I'd usually use like maybe 2, sometimes 3 types of easing on a site. You can't systematize it too much because sometimes like I've seen developers try to say, well, you always need this duration and this easing for all of our animations. But if you're moving something 10 pixels upwards, it's going to need a whole different duration and easing to something that's like swiping the whole width of the site. So it's like, yes, having consistent easing is nice, but also kind of just see how it feels on different elements.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, we'll hopefully be adding in the future. With GSAP, you can set default easing. And hopefully we'll be adding that to Webflow in the future as well.
I just wanted to add to that a little bit. I'm a bit of an imposter because I don't do Webflow, but I do motion design and animation. And I'm all about animation. So I just wanted to add to that, you know, motion's like your brand's kind of body language. So you want to come up with something that works for the brand that enhances the visuals, and then stick to the kind of same feeling throughout, I guess. And then that's how I approach it. And usually, you've got motion guidelines for branding, so then you want to stick to the same easings for different elements and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that sometimes you've also got to think about whether an animation is decorative or whether it's functional. So if you're animating like navigations, UI stuff, you might want to go for a kind of slicker, faster ease. But then if you've got some decorative animations on the site, you might want to be more playful with them. So you can kind of break the rules there. Okay. UI should be quite consistent though, I think. Yeah.
One more quick question,
Yeah,
Rian. Actually, we've got lots of questions happening now.
Actually, to connect it to what's coming next, the lovable part, do you have already a lot of people trying to query GSAP with natural language and say, I want to have an animation with 5 images, with starting from the bottom and blah blah. So and getting the code and apply them to, let's say, the images in a folder or something. Is it already something you're seeing being done by people?
Lots of people are doing that. Yes. Yeah. I'm personally not like a big AI fan. I like owning my own knowledge. Yeah. I like learning the things and then.
When I see all the things with when I see all the thing with the UI, the buttons, you have to know which options to choose to get the result that you want. But when you were talking, you were saying, "Oh, we're going to do something which starts in the middle at the bottom, and then it will be 1 second staggered between the different elements." Mm-hmm. If you just say it, you don't have to learn how to use the user interface.
That is true. You are also using huge amounts of GPU power and slightly burning the planet in order to do so. But personal opinion, I agree. I think a lot of people are using ChatGPT to prompt and get code out. And I think it has been useful for some people. I would also say if you kind of have an idea and you want to prompt in like human language, the GSAP forums are there and there are humans in there that will help you in human language to kind of figure out.
I understand you're not a super fan.
Not a super fan, but yeah.
Cassie, can we have another question here? Mm-hmm. That's okay.
A quick question. Can you animate SVG vector graphics?
Can
Animate as SVG?
SVG, yes.
Yeah. How can you show me?
Not right now, but yes. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we can come back to it.
Not in Webflow at the moment, but with GSAP, yeah.
Is it possible to use both types of interactions in one project, as a classic and new GSAP one?
Yeah, you can do. I wouldn't recommend it because you're adding 2 animation libraries.
That's why I asked. So if we have all the projects we already built with previous animations, so it's better not to put new animations on top
I think unless you're excited about the prospect of switching them all over, I reckon if you've got an IX2 project, like leave it an IX2 project. I would also say for like GSAP is really powerful for doing complex sequenced animations. If you don't have a complex sequenced animation and you've just got like a button that's changing color on hover, use CSS for that. That's what CSS transitions are for. Keep things simple. I see like people sometimes will only have a couple of very simple animations and then they'll pull in animation libraries, and you don't need to. You can just keep it simple and then use GSAP for the more complicated things.
Okay. Or another option, so if I have GSAP code in my project, would it be a good idea also use this interface? Can they exist together?
You can mix up GSAP code and IX3. If you don't have to include the GSAP libraries if you're using IX3.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But I think they've worked out if someone is pulling in the GSAP library and then also uses IX3, it will only load it once. Which is good. Ultimately, I would really love for people to be able to get GSAP timelines out of IX3 and then control them in code, because there's always going to be a lot more power that you have in code than you do in a UI.
It's like something I find really useful is the
CSS visualizer that Webflow already has. Thanks. So you like there's like a little drop down where you click view CSS and you can see the CSS that you're creating in the panel, and that's super useful for like CSS animations and stuff. If you could do the same with GSAP, like just export the code that you're creating, that would be really cool as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's already a custom. Let's see if I can find it. Custom event type here. If you go to the custom events, you can paste that code into your project and that will fire off your GSAP timeline. I'm not a huge fan of this, and it's changing, because what I think would be more useful is if we handed users the reference to the GSAP timeline in GSAP code. Right now, this is passing people an event emitter, which does one thing, but if you pass people the actual timeline itself, then they can use any of GSAP's methods on it. So it would give them a little bit more power, but that's kind of what we're thinking in terms of like a code integration, is like giving people who can code a little bit of a backdoor so that they can build something in IX3 and then use code to prompt ChatGPT. How do I do? how do I play this in reverse? And then
you can do it with Olama locally without heating the atmosphere.
I think there's probably going to be a lot of questions still to come. Maybe Cassie, do you want to, conscious of time, finish off the demo bit, and then we'll try and have 5 minutes or so of question and answer.
I think there was just one more thing that I was going to do, which is currently it's animating in from the left-hand side, and you can set different stagger values. So this is saying stagger from start, but you can set to stagger from end, and it will animate from the end of the items. You can choose a random stagger, and it will animate in a random order. For our demo, we wanted to animate in from the center. So, hey, let's make that 0.5. And then if we preview it, that should do what the site was doing. Hey, we got there eventually.
Excellent. Is that the demo?
That's the demo done. I'm sorry that it turned into a little bit of a bug hunt.
Yeah, so maybe we can go to some questions. I've got a question, and I've got the microphone. So this looks amazing, especially if you have no background in GSAP, you're used to Webflow, point and click. But from your perspective, you've been coding GSAP. Are you still inclined to it in code, or are you straight away going into this and this is speeding things up for you?
Not for me. No.
Not for you.
If you understand JavaScript and you know the GSAP library, you can basically do anything that you can think of.
Yep.
The Webflow interactions is amazing for people who don't know JavaScript and don't know the GSAP API. And I think that it's incredibly valuable. For myself now, I wouldn't use it. Myself of 10 years ago, I was making banner ads for a living. And I was using Adobe Premiere Pro to try and animate. And it was horrible. And then eventually I taught myself GSAP just because I struggled so much with it. But what I would have really loved at that point in time is like a UI for GSAP. I would have loved to be able to build banner ads in something like this. So I'm building this for past me, and I'm building this for like future past Cassies, like other people
that makes sense.
Who might want like an easier, more visual way to get started. And I think some people will be really happy building visually. Other people maybe might kind of get intrigued by GSAP and might jump into custom code. And we'll be sitting in the forums ready to help if you do.
Nice. More questions? Oh, Abdul?
Yeah, awesome presentation so far. And I have a question about responsiveness with this new IX3, which is in IX2, you can choose when you want something to show on desktop, tablets, mobile landscape and all. But for this one, you can't.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I think what I keep saying to people is early iteration. The internal conversation around IX3 and Webflow is that this is an opt-in thing that you can try out. It's in its early stages. We've implemented a few things. We're kind of seeing how it clicks with people, and it is actively being worked on. And there is quite a large feature roadmap ahead. It's been interesting to see the community buzz around it because people obviously put out YouTube videos that were like, GSAP has a UI now. Webflow interactions is here. And it's not yet. We're getting there. We're working towards it. We would love to hear your feedback on it. We would love to see what you're trying to build and what stumbling blocks you're kind of running into. And then by Webflow Conf time, it should be a lot more polished and it should be kind of more at feature parity.
Nice. More questions? How can I can pass this over.
So first of all, was really looking forward to this, and it's my first time seeing it, so it looks amazing. I think this question would be kind of like a continuation of what Jimmy mentioned. First of all, the animations that you make with the UI, is that are all of them like GSAP timelines in the code base of it? Like when the actual animations get written in like wherever it's stored, are they all GSAP timelines essentially?
Yeah.
And is there any way now or in the future for like someone like me, I use a lot of my GSAP tweens for functional stuff. Like, you know, if I'm like, for a click list and a component and stuff like that, I use my GSAP animations at the end of that event. So is there any way that I could expose these timelines for my custom JavaScript to access them globally?
Yeah, so that is a thing that the custom event that I showed a little bit earlier, that's what that is looking to solve.
So would the custom event let me bring code in to be used in the UI? Or the...
So there will be both ways.
Okay.
So the custom event here, what this is solving is that you could write some JavaScript, or you could have some third-party JavaScript that maybe is like a form submission, say, and maybe that library you're using has a callback. You could paste this little bit of code into that callback, and when your form submits, it could fire off an animation.
Oh, that's brilliant.
There will also be the other way around. So if we look at the page load interaction here, right now, the reason that we've called the things that live on a timeline actions instead of tweens. So if you're like in the GSAP world, you'll know that tweens are the animations that live on a timeline. We haven't called them tweens, we've called them actions because they're not just animations. Right now they are just animations, but we're going to be able to have the ability to add, you know, fire off some custom code, toggle a class, like fire off some sort of Zapier integration maybe. You should be able to do all of that from inside your timeline. So actions are more than just animations. There will be like more integrations coming and more things that you'll be able to put onto your timeline.
So this is kind of expanding it beyond just a timeline to like click listeners, event listeners.
Yeah. And that's basically how GSAP works under the hood. So with GSAP, you can have timelines that have tweens on, but you could also fire off a callback, which is basically a function that you can do whatever you want in. And you could say, I don't know, play a sound or like fire off a form or send this integration off or whatever.
Thank you.
Cool.
God, I love JavaScript.
I think
God, I love JavaScript.
Love JavaScript.
Yeah. we want to allow Jack some time, so this might be the last question.
That's the energy I wanted.
Yeah. But Cassie, are you in a rush back to Brighton at the end?
Only because my dog is at home by
Okay.
himself and sad without
Yeah.
me, but not in a big rush. I will definitely
Okay,
have
so there
time
might
for
be
a
some
beer
time.
and a chat.
Excellent, nice one. So, Jimmy with the last question.
So the default, so currently some of the most useful triggers in IX2 are the interactions with the default Webflow elements, like menu open and drop down open and stuff like that. That isn't available yet, I'm guessing. And
No.
Secondary part to that question is kind of those default elements. Do you think eventually they'll be inheriting GSAP, because they must be built on jQuery and stuff at the minute as well?
I don't actually know. That's a little bit more into the Webflow interrupt world, a little bit further away from my little GSAP bubble. I do know that people have asked for those events. Those components, I imagine, would just be HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript to do some stuff. We're looking into whether we can build out components with GSAP, especially more complicated ones like sliders, that kind of thing, carousels, everybody loves them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming. I'm not sure in what form, whether that's going to be on top of the existing elements or new components.
Okay.
But yeah,
Cool.
Will be coming.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
No worries.
Was there anything else, Cassie, you wanted to wrap up with?
Just have a little play around. Let me know what you run into and if you run into any issues or if you start playing around with it and you think, oh, this would be really cool, or oh, I'm struggling to do X, Y, and Z, and then yeah.
And how can people reach out to you? Was it just through the forums?
The GSAP forums is kind of more for GSAP stuff. I guess Webflow forums would be the place to go for IX3, and then I get looped into those questions. If you're one of the partners or in the Webflow beta group there as well.
Yeah, okay, very good. Well, we actually have a WhatsApp group for our meetup, and maybe you want to dip in there at some point if people have something burning. But anyway, at this point, thank you very much, Cassie. Excellent demonstration. Really appreciate and looking forward to what's coming. So thank you very much.